Hey everybody, we're live. I hope you are doing well, and I hope this Thanksgiving has been great to you. And I also hope that you've eaten a lot of turkey, and that in general, life is great, your health is great, your friends are great, and even your dog and your cat are great to you, or your horse, or whatever pet you might have. Yeah, I'm in a very jovial mood because of what I'm about to engage in and the fact that I had a fantastic week and am blessed. Um, and so I want to talk to you about someone named Corina Lopez. And she is undoubtedly someone you haven't heard of, unless, of course, you're familiar with San Leandro, California politics to some degree, and in particular, follow the last election. Um, And if you did and you followed all of this, you would have some idea that uh, that I was involved in it. I was in representing Zennie 62 Media. I always follow San Leandro politics anyway, but in this instance, the incumbent council member running for re-election, Brian Azevedo's campaign hired Zennie 62 Media because he, uh, Councilmember Azevedo, was being just mercilessly attacked by a local blogger whose name I'm not going to mention, putting out all sorts of fake news about him and had no counter. So, Zenny 62 Media's stated job was to tell the truth about Councilmember Azevedo, in particular, where truth wasn't being told. And folks, during the campaign, that was in a lot of places. Okay, a lot of places. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I have never seen one campaign where just ordinary common folk would use social media platforms like Facebook to do the most dastardly things and write the most dastardly words about other people. And that's exactly what happened in this campaign. And so one of the people doing this is this former San Leandro Councilmember Corina Lopez. And so what I wrote on ZennyReport.com, and I'm going to recite to you here, explains it. It goes like this: Corina Lopez is mad at me, Zennie 62 Media CEO and Oakland Vlogger Zennie Abraham, and landed a lawyer to try and remove my expressed opinion of her actions against other San Leandro public officials via a Newport Beach, California lawyer. I guess there are any San Leandro lawyers around, named Elisa Guadan. The former San Leandro council person is threatening what is called a strategic lawsuit against public participation, or SLAPP lawsuit against me, but not against Zenny 62 Media Incorporated. Right? In other words, she's threatening me, but she's not threatening my company. It's kind of weird. Got that? Even though I'm working in the guise of my job as CEO for the company and that, right? Okay, think about that. All right. Trouble is, both former Councilmember Lopez and her lawyer have made critical mistakes that damage the credibility of their SLAPP threat. Aside from the fact that SLAPP lawsuits are illegal in California. For starters, her lawyer referred to me as if I was just some Yahoo out there, rather than working in my media content making capacity as CEO of Delaware C Corporation Zennie 62 Media Incorporated. Indeed, her mention of Zennie 62 Media was parenthetical. The attorney, Elisa Guadan, was clearly not at all familiar with what she was doing in service to her friend, client, former Councilmember Lopez. I gathered the attorney, Elisa Guadan, was a friend of Ms. Lopez, first because she's based in Newport Beach and not San Leandro. Okay? Again, she's based in Newport Beach and not San Leandro. That's Southern California, not Northern California. That's not the city where all this took place, right? I mean, how did she come into the picture, okay? I mean, how did Corina wind up with her doing it, right? At any rate, at any rate, at any rate, okay? All right? Lopez still holds out her persona as an active public figure. To repeat, former San Leandro Councilperson Corina Lopez Facebook page presents her as if she is still council member, as she is still in office as of this writing, and not someone who held the seat until January of 2024. And second, because Elisa Guadan, the attorney, practices criminal defense law and is not a business lawyer specializing in defamation cases. So Elisa Guadan is way out of her league, all right? Because if Elisa did or rather specialize in defamation cases in California, she would recognize that her friend, client, Councilmember Lopez, was threatening to file the aforementioned SLAPP lawsuit. SLAPP lawsuits are described as, quote, a meritless lawsuit filed to intimidate and silence individuals or groups from exercising their free speech rights on issues of public concern. These lawsuits are often based, the definition reads, on claims like, explanation reads rather, in claims like defamation, and are designed to harass defendants with the cost and stress of litigation, even if the claims have little legal standing. The letter attorney Elisa Guadan wrote to me was written to intimidate and silence. Consider this sentence. This letter is a formal demand that you immediately cease and desist from engaging in financing, promoting, or otherwise participating in the publication, dissemination, or creation of any false, defamatory, or harassing statements about Mrs. Lopez, on any platform, including but not limited to YouTube, X, and associated blogs. Now, folks, if that's not an example of an attempt to intimidate and silence me, Zennie Abraham, then what is? All it has done is got my attention, and not in a good way. And if Elisa Guadan, the lawyer for former Councilmember Lopez, had any experience in defamation cases, she would know that SLAPP lawsuits are illegal in California. Here, Google AI or just any search that states California's anti-SLAPP statute code of civil procedures 425.16 allows defendants to file a special motion to strike a complaint early in a court case if it arises from someone's right to free speech or petition on a public issue. If the motion is successful, the case is dismissed and the defendant may be able to recover attorney's fees. That's what it reads. That's California law, folks, in black and white. So what's got Councilmember Lopez so hot and bothered about what me, Zennie Abraham, may have possibly written or said or wrote or whatever? So the SLAPP lawsuits, definitely not the way to go for former Councilmember Lopez, but what's got her so pissed off, about me anyway? Well, according to the lawyer's letter, which I happen to have here, it's because I made a video expressing my opinion of two actions Mrs. Lopez did in a video described as a, quote, San Leandro fight last year. Remember that? Remember the San Leandro City Council race of 2024 and the San Leandro Library video taken during the San Leandro City Council Candidates Forum in October of last year, 2024? The event that a paid blogger falsely reported was the focus of a fight that the blogger said was started by Councilmember Azevedo. Remember that? That blogger told a lie, a flat-out lie about Councilmember Azevedo and tried to make the incumbent elected official look like the aggressor in a mix-up involving former San Leandro City Councilmember Lee Thomas, by the way, San Leandro's first African-American city council member, Councilmember Azevedo's mom, yes, mom, and former Councilmember Lopez herself. In point of fact, Councilmember Azevedo, had no role in the physical pushing and shoving that occurred. However, the video shows that Corina Lopez did. The actual San Leandro Library video shows that Councilmember Azevedo was a bystander. Councilmember Azevedo's mom was closer to Lopez, and former Councilmember Lee Thomas was on the other side of former Councilmember Lopez, ostensibly trying to keep the peace. Lopez reached out both arms, left and right, right, and 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 just kind of like this, okay, and pushing Councilmember Azevedo's mother on the left, and simultaneously shoving former Councilmember Thomas into the wall behind him. This is on video. If you see the San Leandro Library video in real time, it's really hard not to describe the action as anything other than that, what I just said to you, okay? Opinions can differ, but anyone telling an observational truth has to account for what Ms. Lopez was doing with her arms. In the case of this vlogger, I said that it looked like she manhandled former Councilmember Lee Thomas. That was a statement of opinion based on 3 factors. 1, former Councilmember Lopez pushing out her arms, and 2, the contact her hands made with 3, both Councilmember Azevedo's mom and former Councilmember Thomas. And then there's something else, folks. Let's play a little game here, shall we? Let's just a little game, all right? Hey Google, what's the definition of manhandling?
Here's the definition of manhandle. Move a heavy object by hand with great effort.
Ooh, move a heavy object.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Move, thank you. Move a heavy object with great effort. Former Councilmember Lopez was moving that heavy object, former Councilmember Thomas, with some great effort. Councilmember Thomas, I believe, is 5'5", 5'6", then maybe about 230 pounds. That's considerable. Okay, that's considerable, and that's a considerable effort. No question about it. That's a considerable effort. Okay, and so it's not defamation of character, folks. It's a description of actions taken by Ms. Lopez in the video. But Lopez and her lawyer think it's defamation of character and want me to stop making any content about her and removing existing posts referring to her. Okay? That's what you've heard it. That's what the letter that I'm holding here requests. That's the ingredients of a SLAPP lawsuit without question. In the letter, Lopez's lawyer writes to me, she completely forgets Zennie 62 Media's First Amendment rights, and in particular, mine. All right? Yes, the First Amendment rights held by Zennie 62 Media Incorporated vloggers and bloggers broadly protect content made to criticize government officials. The United States Supreme Court has repeatedly affirmed that robust, wide-open debate on public issues is essential to democracy, and this includes harsh criticism of public officials. Having said that, the video about what former San Leandro City Council member Lopez did was anything but harsh and contributed to what was already a lively debate about the video and the forum. Indeed, overall, it was an instructive and humorous and without any attempt video done without any intent to defame former San Leandro City Council member Lopez. Moreover, former San Leandro City Council member Lopez had no problem pointing to the local paid blogger and talking favorably about his writing a take on the San Leandro Library video that met her opinion, her desire to make Councilmember Azevedo look bad. That's what she wanted to have happen, because she didn't want Brian to get reelected. As long as that blogger's defamatory posts were directed toward Brian Azevedo, former San Leandro Councilmember Lopez was only too happy to direct others to read that blogger's work, not mine. That alone should call Ms. Lopez's actions in trying to threaten Zennie 62 Media and myself into question, on top of the fact that the letter that I'm writing and that I'm reading to you, I read to you, I'm showing you here, is illegal. It's illegal, all right? It is illegal, okay? Zennie 62 Media's response to Ms. Lopez's lawyer and former San Leandro Councilmember Lopez is that it is not at all defamation of character. Indeed, no malice was intended toward Ms. Lopez, who is described as strong and powerful in her actions. Why is that a bad opinion, let alone defamation, about Ms. Lopez at a time when women want to be seen as strong and powerful, right? Regular viewers of Zennie 62 YouTube channel and Zennie 62 Media websites like ZennieReport.com recall how Zennie 62 Media proudly came to the online content defense of San Leandro City Councilmember Brian Azevedo during the 2024 San Leandro City Council race, pitting him against the incumbent pitting him as the incumbent, okay, as the former council member against the former council member Ed Hernandez, who had held Brian's seat in 2020. Okay, Brian beat him in 2020 and is running for re-election in 2024. All right, so Ed was trying to get his old seat back. Is the whole thing, and plus the real estate community there, since Ed's a real estate guy, wanted him back in his place, which is a whole nother story. Councilmember Azevedo was unfairly and shamefully attacked on social media and by a number of San Leandro public officials. One, again, who actually hired a blogger to make defamatory content about Councilmember Azevedo, and then another by the name of Corina Lopez, who was once a San Leandro City Council member, but online holds herself out as if she is still a sitting San Leandro Council member. And I'll tell you more about that below, but hey, if you're on Google, just type Corina Lopez San Leandro, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see her Facebook page that calls her San Leandro City Council member Corina Lopez. It doesn't say former. Yeah, she holds herself out as if she's still active. Ooh, all right, okay. In the case of what Zennie 62 Media Incorporated does, we have never sought to defame anyone we make content about. The definition of defamation is, quote, defamation is the act of making a false statement that harms another person's reputation. Note, a false statement. Zennie 62 Media is well aware of the difference and knows that giving an opinion about someone's physical actions is telling what they did and not who they are. Apparently, Corina Lopez and her lawyer do not know the difference between what constitutes defamation and what an opinion about someone's physical actions is. That former Councilmember Lopez used her arms to ward off the physical movement of two people, Councilmember Azevedo's mom and former Councilmember Thomas, is a statement of verifiable fact on video. A statement of verifiable fact is a statement that conveys a provably true factual assertion, such as someone, tripping on a sidewalk captured in a video, right? Ms. Lopez's lawyer claims former Councilmember Lopez is upset that I gave the opinion that she manhandled Councilmember or former Councilmember Thomas. But the video you will see shows that's exactly what she did. The definition of manhandle is, quote, handle someone roughly by dragging or pushing, according to the Oxford Languages Dictionary. And the video shows that's exactly what former Councilmember Lopez did to former Councilmember Thomas. Her lawyer claims Ms. Lopez went to the hospital, but first, she did not call 911 to get in an ambulance. And second, perhaps her healthcare visit was because she strained her arm in pushing Mr. Thomas. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Because she strained her arm in pushing. I think so. What former Councilmember Lopez did is easier to prove than that example, and the Zennie 62 YouTube channel vlog proves it. Here is the live stream vlog I'm about to show you, folks, and the title is San Leandro Library Videos Show No Brian Azevedo Fight, but Corina Lopez manhandling Lee Thomas. Let's have a look at that video, shall we, folks? Right here. Hey, everybody, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And here is that video, and I'm going to change the audio portion so that you can appropriately hear that video by turning on echo cancellation and then activating the video right here. And here we go. Let's see here. We go. From the San Leandro clerk's office. See here. Put them all together. We go. I have a bit of a loop here, folks. So I'm going to have to take one of these off. I have a bit of a, yep. Hold on a second. So let me try this. Provided by, okay. But we provided with it, okay? And came up with this really neato review of what happened at the San Leandro Library where the September 7th candidates forum was held, where you undoubtedly heard a fight broke out. Candidates forum was held. Former Councilmember Lee Thomas and current Councilmember Corina Lopez both had to go to the hospital. Well, you're going to see the truth of what happened here, all right? Let's take a look. Let's get right to it, shall we? Here is the video. It's 13 minutes long. I'm going to take you through step by step what happened, and I want you to understand clearly, and you will come away clearly with the view that is the appropriate one, how to understand, just what the heck is going on here, right? And what led to this. Well, buckle up. Here it goes. Okay, first of all, this is the video start. Right here, and I'm circling, this is San Leandro Councilmember Brian Azevedo running for re-election. This is in what is called the lobby bathroom of the San Leandro Library, where the September 7th candidates forum was held. So let's run this real quick. Push that button. You see Brian is having an affable conversation, gesturing. Looks like Mr. Smith goes to Washington wearing his suit and tie, ready for representing the city. And here comes his wife, his lovely wife, to join him in conversation and be by his side. And as you can see, there are other people here. There's this gentleman, this person here. Let me stop it. Okay, let me stop that right there. This man here that I'm circling, this is Lee Thomas. I don't know who this person in the pink is, and I don't know who the heavyset gentleman is. The blue here, this is the campaign manager for Brian Azevedo. I don't know who this gentleman is, so let's keep it going. And at this point, and the story basically goes that, first of all, Lee Thomas here was voted out of city council. He's no longer on it. But he's a supporter of Ed Hernandez, the challenger to Brian Azevedo, and also the person who held the seat that Azevedo currently occupies. Lee Thomas cannot stand Brian Azevedo for some weird reason. I don't know, made up. But the bottom line is he's pulled a lot of shenanigans and told a lot of lies about him. And you're about to see a whopper unfold, literally. Let's continue. All right, so there's Lee on first the left side, and this gentleman goes by, and we have the campaign manager going over, finishing his conversation on the right, and we have someone who comes behind Lee Thomas to use the watering hole there, and so Thomas goes from that side of the aisle to the other, where the side. Now, let's stop it here. We have, again, Mr. Councilmember Azevedo's wife on the right and his mother in white on the left, and she's carrying a kind of a little red rag type device, with something in it. The little pet she carries. Oh, little doggy, little cutie. Okay, so they're walking, and Lee is talking to this gentleman affably and standing against the wall. A lady comes over and is making her way through the hallway. This gentleman coming out in the blue, this is Mr. Azevedo. This is Brian Azevedo's dad. And going to his wife right over here, okay, and conversing, all right. And while the other lady makes her way through, and I don't know who this other lady is. You can see Lee is right here against the wall observing Brian, and primarily from a distance. So fellow in white comes through, and as that happens, as this is going on, the gentleman they were talking to comes back through the hallway, the heavyset gentleman. He goes, Brian comes into the view, and then goes back, I believe, to say something to someone over there in the conversation. And as he does that, the person coming out of the bathroom, that's blogger, podcaster Stephen Tavares, who claimed that this was a fighting skirmish and all of this stuff. It wasn't. So he comes over, he quickly grabs out his pad. He was the person that I was told by a number of people was harassing Brian, saying things to him that weren't true and questions. And this is that occasion where he was approaching Brian to do, well, what reportedly was just that. And he starts in a conversation. As that's happening, you see Lee is still looking at this gentleman is texting something. And then they talk. And Lee is listening attentively from a distance there, up against the wall. Meanwhile, older lady comes through, and then gets jam-packed all of a sudden there. There's Brian. And we have a gentleman coming up in pink, and this gentleman that's coming up in pink is right there. The guy that I'm circling here, this is San Leandro Mayor Juan Gonzalez, okay? He's apparently texting somebody, but now he's coming forward to greet this lady. Brian is talking, if you believe, along with his campaign manager in the blue, light blue. And they're both talking to Tavares, who's gesturing to Brian about something, and Brian is answering, responding. Meanwhile, here comes Brian's mother right behind him, coming up right there and stops. See, that's her. And meanwhile, Lee is now watching the mayor. See, Gonzalez is here. This is Lee Thomas against the wall over here. All right. Meanwhile, Brian's mother says something to Brian, and gesturing about something going about it, I guess, in the hallway or whatever is going on there. And Brian just sort of nods and goes back to talk to Steve Tavares. Lee, at this point, eases in to get a better look at what's going on. He's clearly interested. And now remember, it is said that Lee hired Stephen Tavares, right? So he's taking a keen interest in what Tavares is doing here in this video. And both Brian and his mother are rather amused at what Steve is saying. But at this point, I am told that they are now accusing him of making up lies about Brian. Both Brian and his mother are saying, hey, you're making up all these lies, and why are you doing this, man? And, Brian is, handling it all well. It's all kind of, good-natured sort of stuff. It's kind of like, yeah. But nonetheless, serious because, these are serious attempts that Steve has made that others believe are unethical. And so, and Brian and his mother are one of those people. Now, the person behind them, this is Deborah Lopez, right here. Deborah Lopez, another person who's a player in San Leandro politics. Okay, now the guy in the pink goes walking up away from Lee. Lee is now, at this point, looking. Deborah, either Lee said something or Deborah just went over him spontaneous, but she's kind of giving him a nudge there, like, what are you doing? Knock it off. And then comes on over. Meanwhile, Brian's mother's gone all in criticizing Stephen for his actions and antics. And I don't know who this gentleman is. This might be the Leo guy that people talk about. Don't know. But at any rate, Deborah Lopez goes over to talk to Brian. Lee now has his camera up, all right, filming, okay? And as that's happening, Deborah's then goes over to Lee and says, "Hey, what are you doing? Stop it," something like that, all right? And Brian gets on Lee about, bugging folks or filming them, and he's saying something to them. But somewhere in here, Lee says something as Brian walks away, and Deborah uses the hand, like stop with a hand, right? Brian then turns around, okay, and then goes back. Deborah pushes him. Now, at this point, the lady at the bottom here, this is Corina Lopez. This is Corina Lopez. Keep an eye on Councilmember Corina Lopez, all right? So, Brian then comes back, and his mom is backing away from Tavares and also the campaign manager, Jeremy. And she turns and she's looking at Corina and then goes over to Brian. And then Ms. Azevedo, Brian's mother, is asking Lee to stop. And he's not stopping. He's just filming, okay? And so Brian's walking off, but then somewhere Brian just says stop, and his mother's asking to stop, and he's going to say, "Would you just stop," right? And then instead, Lee goes in on him, thereby making it a near, problem. But then at this point, a former WWE wrestler intervenes, and that's Miss Lopez. And watch what she does. She takes her arms and pulls them apart like she's pulling apart an ocean liner, like she's ripping it apart. Look at that. Rack. Okay, you can hear it. Her right arm, look how she's pushing back Lee Thomas. Look at that. Look at that. She pushes Lee Thomas like she's Samson. Look at that. Rack. Look at that. Just rack, okay? She pushes Brian's mother so hard that she goes back into, this is hilarious stuff, folks. I mean, you can't make this up, okay? She pushes Brian's mother so hard, okay, that she Brian's mother winds up going back into Brian himself. This is absolutely hilarious. That's what's happening, okay? Look, okay? See that? See? Look at this. See that? See how she's pushing? She pushes Mrs. Azevedo here, right into Brian. Brian almost loses his balance. So she's got her left arm going to town over there. Her right arm is literally holding Lee Thomas in place. It knocks him up against the wall. See that? And then others are trying to keep him away. Then he tries to close in. She's still holding him off. Okay? Then he comes over. This gentleman, I believe, is identified as a supporter of Brian Azevedo, comes over and continues the holding off of Lee away from Brian. The mayor is right next to him. The mayor's watching all this. He must be quite amused by it. Campaign manager's over there, but there's the mayor, not saying anything, all right? Probably amazed that Corina Lopez could act like an MMA fighter, And then Lee goes back and he tries to get back go over to Brian, who's long gone now, all right? And then he kind of goes in and he gets stopped by him. He turns him into a 180 supporter. Brian Azevedo does that. And then they go from that to, I guess, realize that they're friends and they start hugging it out. Hilarious stuff. He's got him in a bear hug, right? And Lee can't get away. And he knows it. So he starts and they just, he pushes him away and then he pushes him back and all that. And then they, it's kind of like a weird kind of thing. Anyway, that's Deborah Lopez talking to him. And he's like gesturing, "Oh, he did this." And well, what it is that he's yelling at Brian Azevedo's mother. And so he shouldn't be doing that. She's 70 years old. He has no respect for women. Meanwhile, Tavares is arguing with Jeremy here over what he thought he saw and his issues with Brian, all that stupid stuff. And gesturing like, "Oh my God, it was a bad thing and all this, and give me a break." So anyway, this is ridiculous stuff. Stephen ought to be ashamed of himself for just really involving himself the way he has. But I digress. So they all go back and off to, as you can see, up and out to the lobby itself, right? So let's let this run.
And we're going to be going out in the lobby. Stephen is still, talking with Jeremy there, and not making his case well at all. Jeremy's, there. But at any rate, it's all kind of like big deal. And he calms down, and they keep talking. And so while that's happening, I don't know who this gentleman is walking out, but he walks out and goes around him. Okay? So the action at this point literally spills out into the lobby from the lobby bathroom. So very soon, we'll have a change in venue, if you will, or room. And you'll see the round. Well, there's no round at all, but what's going on. This is the outside, all right? And I don't know who these two people are, the gentleman walking with a cane and the lady walking out. But if we freeze it, you can see that, first of all, this in the gentleman in the blue is Brian Azevedo's dad with the little truck that's carrying the little pet. That's Mr. Azevedo's, Councilmember Azevedo's wife, okay? Remember, this is a candidate forum, so it's a family affair. All the family was there and everything else. Now, they go back in to the lobby for the lobby bathroom for a second. And as they come back in, there's no footage that picks up what's happening on the other side of that, all right? But what happens is that eventually somebody else comes back this way, and they're going to get Brian, is what happened. They went to get Brian. Okay, so what happens, they went to get Brian. Brian came out. This is while Corina is using her super arms to hold Lee Thomas back, right? And pushing up against the wall, literally. So Brian he hears some things, but he's also, I think his mother's back there as well. That's his dad. His dad is saying something. And that's Mayor Juan Gonzalez. I believe he's now talking to Corina Lopez. Okay. She's probably telling him about how great her MMA moves were. And then that is right here. That's Brian Azevedo's mother, who's talking with Corina Lopez. And then saying something to her, and not really the mayor, but just headed out at this point. All right. Then they all go out. There's Miss Lopez. This is Corina Lopez talking with Brian's mother right here. And they're all headed out. Okay. Meanwhile, Mayor Gonzalez goes back in. All right. Here's Lee Thomas. Now, Lee Thomas okay, let's run this, because Lee Thomas there's Brian Azevedo's, and then there's Lee Thomas walking behind Brian Azevedo's mother as if, he's kind of almost in stalking pursuit, it seems. And then he kind of you can see throwing his hands up like, oh, whatever, and all this stuff, okay? Clearly there to start trouble. And then he goes back over this way, and they go away, including there's Debbie Lopez there talking with the mayor. And then he hangs back, he being Lee Thomas over here, talking with Lopez. Then he goes the opposite direction as the Mayor Gonzalez, comes toward us, and he's heading toward the outside door, eventually to basically shut the doors. And that's what he's going to do. Now, I don't know what Lee Thomas is doing on the other side. Maybe he's sitting down to take a chill pill. Maybe he's, realizing he's got a few bruises from Corina Lopez's manhandling him. But he probably is plotting a plan to tell the police instead of just simply going home and taking a hot bath and calling it a day. No, he doesn't do that. So he goes back into the lobby bathroom. At any rate, eventually, he comes back. This is Lee Thomas coming back out. He goes back and looks back again. And then he kind of walks along with the side, leans over against on his left arm, I guess, or his left shoulder. I would think maybe his right shoulder's taking a beating from Corina Lopez, so he's not wanting to put any pain on that, right? And he goes back over to the other room again, for whatever reason. maybe he's just killing time. Maybe they just call him to chill out, so he's going to do that. And so then he stays back there. And that guy in the pink that I was talking to earlier in the pink hat is walking out there. Okay. Don't see Stephen Tavares. Maybe he was looking for him, because there's Lee Thomas there, and these gestures, and he goes on out. So there he's going on out. There's Mr. Thomas. All right. So the next video will show us the outside. It's a kind of a weird black and white there, that one. All right. You can see people coming in and going out, and what you will eventually see is Brian Azevedo coming out. So this is another angle as Azevedo and company were coming out first. So there's a gentleman in the white, long hair, and there's Brian Azevedo's talking. And talking with other people. There's his wife and other supporters. And there is, don't quite know who that is. I believe, no, that lady is not Corina Lopez. I don't know who that is. There's Brian Azevedo's mother. That's his father over here. Okay. And then we have, let's see here. They're just hanging out there. Eventually, the mayor will come into view. Yeah, the mayor will come into view eventually. And so they're all talking. They get the truck. They push the truck out of the way. Trying to make some kind of arrangement there. Not sure what they're doing. But this is on the outside. Now they're outside the library. Okay. There's the mayor. He's gesturing for everybody to clear on out and get out of the way, and that's what they're doing. So that's what Mayor Gonzalez is doing, all right? That's what Mayor Gonzalez is doing. Now remember, Lee Thomas is back inside, okay? He's back inside. Mayor Gonzalez goes, talking to Corina Lopez, talking to the MMA fighter, probably thanking his lucky stars that his fate did not meet the touch of her hands. But at any rate, he's talking to her. This other person comes up. Don't know who that is. And the three of them are talking. And so Mayor Gonzalez decides, I'll go back inside. Here's the guy walking by is the guy that was talking to Lee Thomas. So Mayor goes back inside, or appears to go back inside. And then something interesting occurs. Because here comes this gentleman as well. Which I believe is an interesting development, because this Corina is hanging back over here, right on the right of the screen. Okay, she's half in and half out. All right. Now she looks like she's finally leaving. Okay, having gotten her fix of wrestling moves and all that sort of thing. There's Lee Thomas, right, gesturing animatedly, talking to someone. He is talking to Mayor Gonzalez. That's who he's talking to, Mayor Gonzalez. Probably telling him how he's going to press charges and all that. Not telling him how he was actually manhandled by Corina Lopez. And he was, Maybe he just can't stand the truth. At any rate, Gonzalez watches him walk off and talks to the lady with the baby, as politicians are supposed to do. You're supposed to greet the babies. But anyway, Gonzalez is then making his way back inside slowly, as if to say, and then kind of back and forth. What a day. And here comes Ms. Lopez going inside. That's interesting. Okay. As well as this man is some friend to Tavares. Don't know who he is.
This right here is the Titanium Always Pan Pro, the Perfect Pop Pro, and the Mini Perfect Pop Pro from our place. It's pure titanium, no harsh chemicals, and no coatings. The Titanium Always Pan Pro heats evenly, even at a high heat. Nothing sticks, no coatings, no chemicals, just pure titanium.
Folks, what you're looking at is that's Corina Lopez. This is a volume video. I want you to listen to this because Corina Lopez is directing everybody. Listen to her. See, that's an MMA fighter, all right? Smith Gonzalez. That's Lopez. The person talking animatedly on the left is Brian Azevedo's father. Listen carefully to what he says. Hear that? He said, Ed started messing with Brian. That is a confirmation of what my source told me Ed did in telling my source that, hey, did you see the way that I baited Brian? Here's confirmation of that. Brian's father saw his son being messed with by Ed Hernandez. Okay? That's a powerful admission, powerful evidence. She's complaining about Corina Lopez. And the mayor's like, okay, hey, nothing to see here, let's go home. All right, so there you are. And so as I was saying, this lady must have been at some point in her youth either a wrestler, an MMA fighter, a power lifter or something, because she has no problem stretching out those arms to bring order and tell everybody what to do as she has her little handbag on the side. Don't mess with Corina Lopez. Corina Lopez went to the hospital. I'll tell you why she went to the hospital. She went to the hospital because she pulled a muscle holding Lee Thomas back. That's why. You heard me, okay? That's what really happened, all right? Don't believe anything else, okay? All right? Don't, because the truth is, that's the truth. She can't handle the truth. She doesn't want anybody to know that she's the real aggressor. She wants you to see her as this nice, harmless old lady who wouldn't, do anything to bother anybody. But in truth, she's the mighty arm Corina Lopez of San Leandro. Look at those arms stretched out there. Look at how she's pushed Lee Thomas back against the wall. Look at the full video again, pushing him back against the wall. She pulled a muscle, because that dude is short and stocky, okay? So he's probably like maybe 250 or something like that. He's short and stocky. That's a kind of a, stocky kind of fire hydrant kind of dude to be pushing. You got to have some arms to do that. She's got them. She pulled the muscle. All right. That's what happened. The mighty arms of San Leandro's Corina Lopez. That's the real story for your folks. You are being led down a primrose path. Not true. All right. And so now that you've got the truth, subscribe to Zennie62 on YouTube and bookmark ZennieReport.com, OaklandNewsOnline.com, and Zennie62blog.com. And remember, Zennie62 Media Incorporated at Zennie62media.com. Thanks. And vote for Brian Azevedo. Re-elect him, because those folks that I just point out to you have not been good to him. They have made up stories. It has nothing to do with policy, nothing to do with how San Leandro was ran. It's all high school stuff. I mean, come on, folks. Well, you know what? That's being unkind to high school. Maybe I should say junior high. Yeah, junior high school stuff. Yeah, all right. See you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, so as you can see, that's...
What if I told you that strengthening your bones could be as easy as standing in one place? It sounds unbelievable, but the science is undeniable. A study conducted in Belgium found that training with this one machine...
Put that video to rest, and then go back to me talking to you here, all right, here, okay, and then go on to explain in the document that contrary to Ms. Lopez and her attorney Elisa Guadan's claim, Zennie 62 Media was hired by Brian Azevedo's campaign to make content that tells the truth, as you can see, about Councilmember Azevedo as a counter to the lies written about him online. The decision of what content to counter was solely based on my judgment, was made solely based on my judgment and not of that of the Brian Azevedo campaign. I was not given words or script or even a request. The content language came from my observations and opinions, and that's my free speech right. What people do not understand about what Zennie 62 Media does is that, unlike a public relations consultant, Zennie 62 Media is not paid to make a statement, but to make online content that communicates a message either by photo, text, audio, or video. That means the online content has to be made discoverable in search engines and social media platforms. It also means that the photo, text, audio, or video is not necessarily produced by me, because Zennie 62 Media has other vloggers. It also means Zennie 62 Media's website platforms have to be robust enough to withstand attack from hackers from any corner of the globe. In short, Zennie 62 Media is paid to use its online content production process for clients, and that production system comes with an operational cost, and not to stand in the streets and yell to the public or speak at a press conference. Moreover, Zennie 62 Media takes on clients whose values and messages it believes in. We're not paid to hold an opinion, contrary to what some journalists claim. In closing, Ms. Lopez, former San Leandro Councilmember Lopez, and her lawyer in Newport Beach should immediately issue a letter of apology for and withdraw of the Elisa Guadan letter that amounts to breaking the law regarding SLAPP lawsuits in California, making them illegal by issuing, which they did break by issuing an illegal threat to file will be an illegal SLAPP lawsuit. And Ms. Lopez is certainly welcome to come on to Zennie 62 YouTube Live and talk about this issue with me. I think the public would benefit from it. But this is also a signal to other bloggers and vloggers. When you're accused of something, you tell your story. Don't let your story be told by others. You get it out there first. I call it first strike, okay? You get out the story, because people do this, like write letters like this one. This letter is illegal, all right? This letter that I was sent on October 10th of last month by Elisa Guadan is illegal. She is threatening me with a SLAPP lawsuit. That's what it's called. Well, she doesn't use the term here. It is a SLAPP lawsuit if I not only don't talk about her client or make content about her client, but remove the existing client content. Well, no. First of all, Elisa, your client is not only a near former public official. In other words, she ceased to be a public official in terms of being a council person last year, but she still holds herself out as a San Leandro council person. She still holds herself out as that person. She's still in the mix. She can't let go. And as I understand it, she's considering a run for San Leandro mayor. And not only that, San Leandro is in the process of changing its voter jurisdictions, going to a district elections format. So would anyone be surprised if Corina Lopez jumped right back into the mix of politics through the district election system, which takes place next fall, 2026? Of course not. All right. Everybody knows she's gearing up for another run. Everybody. And she doesn't want this stuff that I have out there about her selling it up. Well, she made the wrong decision how to handle this. The best way to handle it was to left it alone. Because frankly, it wasn't this sort of thing that people were rushing to me to get my opinion about, oh, what's the latest on Corina Lopez and all this stuff, right? Of course, that was before this. And on top of that, Corina has to understand that we are in a world where even if you're not a public official, city council person in this case, if you are active on social media, if you allow yourself to be seen and photographed, like for example, picked up by the cameras of the San Leandro Library, do you know what you become? You become something called a limited purpose public figure. Hey Google, what's a limited purpose public figure?
On the website pbs.org, they say, typically, these are individuals who have gained prominence in a particular field or in connection with a particular controversy. Plaintiffs classified as limited-purpose public figures must prove actual malice only for defamatory statements that relate to matters in which they are considered public figures.
See? So, yeah. See? You have to prove actual malice. And that's a tall order. Limited-purpose public figures are all over. We call them, in the music, you used to call them one-hit wonders, right? But now you can call them one-hit wonders with respect to viral stories, all right? Viral events or occurrences. Politics is replete with such examples, and Ms. Lopez is part of it. And not only that, Ms. Lopez is noted and quoted as backing the material that Stephen Tavares put out, and he was paid. So that's it, folks. So here's the thing. Here's the thing, folks. Here's the thing. You have to remember, okay? You have to remember. It's very important to remember, okay? In closing, always tell your story. Thank you. And that ends the stream.